Hello everyone, welcome to my first in an ongoing weekly series where I'm going to be unpacking the latest real estate trends for Toronto's housing market once a week to give you a really good idea of how the real estate market is adjusting to the coronavirus. Now, when we have a volatile market the way we have today, it's critical to be looking at statistics once a week because the market can turn on a dime at any time. It's not good enough to look at monthly data. And I think you're going to see this week why it's so critical to be looking at these trends once a week and how they might shape our real estate decisions. So when we look at a weekly comparison of housing data, typically what we'll do is we'll pick 1 week, 1 7-day period this year and look at the number of sales, the number of new listings, even average prices, and compare that to the same 7-day period in the previous year. And we do this year over year comparison to sort of get rid of any differences that might have to do with seasonality. Like, sales typically are a little bit higher in March than they are in February. So by comparing March, 4th week of March this year versus 4th week last year, we get rid of those seasonal differences. So when we look at sort of the change in sales this year compared to last year, we can see that sales have been up basically the entire year for 2020. And when we look at March, sales started March up nearly 50% year over year for the first couple of weeks. In the 3rd week of March, they were up about 18%. And we see now in the 4th week of March, sales have actually declined 37% over the same 1 week period last year. Now, sales, of course, have dropped significantly, partly because a lot of buyers are pulling out of the market. A lot of the buyers who don't need to be actively buying are hitting pause, and of course this is putting some downward pressure on sales, which is not a bad thing. I mean, we don't really want to see a big surge in sales in this type of environment. Even the real estate industry wants people to pull back if they don't need to buy a house. So this big drop in sales is in some ways very positive because we want to sort of control the spread of the virus right now. Now, when we look at sort of the different house types, condo apartments saw the biggest decline in sales, down 43%. And part of this could be due to the fact that some condo buildings aren't even allowing showings right now. And of course, it's a lot harder to sell a unit if you're not allowing showings. Now, typically when the real estate market's cooling down and we see this big decline in sales, it's usually coupled with a big increase in inventory. I mean, it kind of makes sense. If your buyers are buying, there's more houses on the market, and that's typically what puts downward pressure on prices. But this market's a little bit different. We're actually not seeing a surge in inventory. And part of this is because when we look at the change in new listings over last year, new listings for the 4th week of March actually fell 33%. And that's because, again, like the buyers, if you don't need to sell a home, you're not in a rush, a lot of sellers are not putting their homes on the market. And it's this drop in new listings that's actually bringing a little bit of stability to the housing market. Because if the number of homes for sale just kept increasing as sales fell, that would put a lot more downward pressure on home prices. Now, when looking at home prices, again, when we look at this year over year comparison, prices are up 8.6%. But it's kind of hiding another trend I've been seeing over the past month. So this is a kind of a good case where maybe we want to look at sort of how prices have progressed over the past 4 weeks. And when we look at that, 4 weeks ago in the end of February, average price in the last week of February was about $949 in the GTA. And when we look at the 4th week of March, the average price was $856. So nearly a 10% decrease in the span of 4 weeks. So then, of course, the first important question is everyone's house suddenly worth 10% less? Or is something else going on? And when we look at the data, it doesn't look like everyone's home is suddenly worth 10% less. What's happening really with the data is the types of homes that are selling in the 4th week of March are quite a bit different from the 4th week of February. So for example, in the end of February, about 69% of the homes sold for under $1 million compared to 79% in the 4th week of March. And similarly, when we look at the high-end market, in the 4th week of March, 10% of sales were above 1.5 million compared to 5% of sales in the last week of March. So we're seeing, more lower priced homes selling in the end of March, far fewer high-end homes, and of course this is skewing the average down a little bit. Now, does this mean that prices are still rising the way they were? I mean, probably not actually. I mean, and if you're a home seller, you're probably not going to get the same price today as you would have even 4 weeks ago when people were getting 15 offers on homes. When you have 15 buyers making a bid, you're probably going to get a stronger price than if you have one offer. Now that being said, we're also finding that overall the market and the prices tends to be relatively balanced. A lot of the homes that we're selling now, we look at the values, we look at the comparables, and they're generally selling within the value range. So sellers that are priced well are generally still getting really decent prices right now. House prices that are priced a little bit higher sitting on the market a little bit longer. Now, we're not seeing a lot of downward pressure on prices quite yet because we're still technically what we call a seller's market. There's still a real shortage of inventory. We have what we call maybe about 1.5 months of inventory, which is not a lot of houses on the market despite this big decline in sales. And that's really what's helping keep house prices stable. Now, if sales start to decelerate even more than new listings, we might see a little bit more inventory on the market. But for now, prices have been pretty stable because we don't have this big spike in inventory. Now, when we look at kind of what this looks like on the ground, sort of in the housing market, maybe that's not necessarily in the data. And the market has really changed significantly in the past couple of weeks. When we look at sort of buyer activity, buyers are not running out on the weekend looking at 7 houses with their real estate agents. They're sitting at home viewing virtual tours, looking at photos, and being very selective about the homes that they view. But the one home maybe they view a week are homes that they're very serious about. And similarly, if you're a seller and you go to list your home, you shouldn't be expecting 30 viewings in your first week if that's what you would have gotten 3 weeks ago, because it's probably not going to happen today. But sellers who have really good virtual tours for their homes, floor plans, a lot of information, a lot of photos, they're going to get maybe 4, 5, 6 showings, however many they're going to get. But those buyers are going to be very serious about their homes. So, and again, the ones that are priced well tend to be moving relatively quickly right now. And homes that are overpriced a little bit tend to be sitting on the market a little bit longer. So that's kind of what we're seeing on the ground level. Of course, Toronto's housing market is going to be a moving target. So as sort of the on the ground insights change and as the statistics change, I'm going to be covering them here. If there's anything I covered that's not clear, or if you have any questions, please post in the comments below. If you have any specific questions, shoot me an email at askjohn@movesmartly.com, and I'll try to answer them via email or on this channel. If you tend to like more graphs and statistics, follow me on Twitter. My handle is below because I tend to post a little bit more data on charts on that platform. And again, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, post it below, and we'll regroup next week.